I'm ready.
I'll be the first to admit that I have a terrible time keeping up on emails. Joe.
Good afternoon. There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to ask you to please join me as we stand for a moment of silence and follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Get a roll call, please.
Tom Eggers.
Here.
Chantel Ostrow.
Here.
Steve Hamill.
Here.
Ken Snyder.
Here.
Brad Hinn.
Next item up is the approval of the agenda. Take a motion for that.
So move.
Support.
Comments? Roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Himmel.
Aye.
Ostrow.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
All right, let's move into the public forum portion of our meeting. Anyone here wishing to address the council at this time? Any written comments?
None.
Okay. Next item, consent agenda, item 4. Need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
We have support.
Support.
Any questions, comments? We're up to consent agenda, Brad. Just
Okay.
any comments or questions? If not, are you still looking? I'll give you just a second here. No? No. Okay, roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Himmel.
Aye.
Ostrow.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
All right. Moving on then into old business. I'd like to open the public hearing, public comment period for the third reading of the ordinance implementing the stormwater fees. Anyone wishing to address that? Motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
It's not a hearing.
It's not a hearing?
No.
So we need a motion for it now? Okay. Never mind then, we don't need your motion.
I'll take it back.
All right, then we can have the consideration of the third reading. Are there any comments or questions on that?
I still have my objection to it. And it hasn't eased up because I've been contacted. Yes, the more we talk about it, more people have called me.
And what's been their consensus?
I'll put it in my words with what they're saying.
Mhm.
When it's enough, it's enough. It's just over and over. We need something, we get just charge more, just charge. And in my opinion, I have to live on my budget, and I just can't go out and get money out of the sky when I want, or take it from people. And I know Todd, nothing against that, but I just think you said we might have to cut back something. Well, I do that constantly in my home, and as taxpayer, as they've been talking to me, basically, that's the same thing. We don't always get what we want all the time and get done, and sometimes there's cutbacks. And I guess, in my opinion, if we can probably find stuff that we can cut back. instead of just going, it's only $3, I know, big deal. But 30 years ago, it was a percentage, and then another thing was added, and over the time, it just keeps getting higher and higher. And I guess, people I've talked, I've had one person, the only positive thing they said toward it was, well, I guess it's gonna happen. Otherwise, everybody that's contacted me is the other. And I know your feelings, and you do a fantastic job. I have no problem with that, but I just can't. I can't go along with this. I think we can do something else.
All right, any other comments?
I guess what I would say on the flip side of that is, you know, nobody wants to add an additional cost. But when it comes to a business, sometimes you have to, and sometimes there's additional expenses that come up. We're looking at infrastructure that's really old, that needs to be repaired, replaced, whatever, and we're also taking on the additional expense of what it costs to do that. And so, yeah, sometimes as a business, you have to pass on the additional expense as well. And so I've had a few people reach out to me as well, also on, you know, when is enough enough? And my answer is, if we have a street that needs to be repaired, do you want us to not take care of that because we have to take care of the stormwater infrastructure? You know, I mean, there's just, I get what you're saying, but on the flip side,
But I
no
was in a
business
business too.
wants to add additional cost, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do, so.
I was in a business, different kind of business, but when I traveled, there's things that I could have used, but facts are facts. And we just keep coming back to the people and just dishing out. We've already, there again, I know the reasons why, but we've already added to the water, we've already added to the sewer, we're gonna talk about adding to the garbage. It's just enough, you know. Looking at the budget, I'm sure we can move it. And what you're trying to say is, we have to catch up for what wasn't done years ago. We're trying to do it all at once.
I wouldn't say we're trying to catch up. I think we're trying to start something to build the future.
But in the budgeting, we should be budgeting to repair. That should be it right from the start.
We do
So-
repair.
Well,
You know,
quite obvious,
and-
100 years.
And then the other side of it is, you know, I know this is small, but it's a little bit to help offset the project. But when is the last time we've assessed property owner for curb and gutter? If we would go do that, they would be charged far more a month or a year than this $3. So, yeah, I don't care for another fee, but I think looking long-term, and how we're going to be able to pay for some stuff, we almost have to do it. You know, otherwise we're gonna go back to the property owner and say, we're gonna start assessing, you know, like we did with Main Street with the sidewalks. You know, they're paying, you know, hundreds of dollars a year, $1,000 a year for sidewalks that were assessed to them. So I mean, if we don't do something, we're gonna have to start assessing the property owners, and I don't wanna do that. That's gonna be far more painful.
That was one of the surprises I had when I came on council, is that we didn't assess curb and gutter.
Yeah.
Because I know a number of people from other towns, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
They had to do a real, you know, repave a street, and they all got assessed
Yeah,
for it.
and thanks to TIF, that helps for us not having to assess people by using TIF.
You said sidewalks. When I put a sidewalk in, I had to pay for my own sidewalk.
When they redid Main Street,
Yeah.
they assessed the property owners
Okay.
for the sidewalks.
Well, that's the same thing.
It's the same thing, but
Yeah, you pay your
I'm
own
using it as
sidewalk, yeah.
an illustration. Okay, we're gonna start charging people for curb and gutter when we redo a street. I don't wanna do that.
So if we remember right, this whole discussion started during our budgeting cycle, this past budgeting cycle, when we were together. Todd brought it up to us and said, you know, he thinks it's time that we need to look at this. So Todd, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here a little bit, and I apologize for that. But what kind of projects do you see over the next 2 or 3 years that brought you to bring this to our attention to begin with? Because I'm sure you wouldn't have brought it to our attention if you didn't have an idea of something that we might have to attend to over in the near future.
Yeah, so if we start in this fiscal year, as you know, there's about $800,000 budgeted to do some storm sewer work along Highway 18, west of Sheldon Auto, by the car wash there, through that area. There is a large culvert that is scheduled to be replaced underneath 16th Street by a maintainer, north of maintainer. There's a large culvert underneath Wyman Street, kind of by the snow dump area, that's scheduled to be replaced. And then on top of that, we've got multiple intersections in town where we have intakes that are failing and or piping under the intakes that are failing. Matter of fact, there's a project going on right now at 8th Street and 9th Avenue where we're replacing some storm sewer infrastructure. We did, last year, we did 7th Street and 9th Avenue. The area near 4th Street and 7th and 4th Street and 8th Avenue, we want to redo those streets, but we need to redo the storm sewer in there first because it's failing and collapsing. So those would be soon. 5th Street and 7th and 8th Avenue are in the same condition. We're estimating that those 4 corners, we could spend close to $100,000 just in storm sewer fixes before we even get to the roads. Another example of where we spend a lot of storm sewer money, and it's currently under construction, so it maybe doesn't count, but I'd have to add it up, but there's probably $750,000 worth of storm water work happening in the Western Avenue project. You know, every time we rebuild, we just redid Oak Street near the hospital. We added new storm sewer into that area. Beyond that, a couple years ago, we did a project where we replaced a few hundred feet of the 36-inch storm sewer that goes down 7th Avenue. That's a major collector for a big chunk of the center of town. That is old clay, it's 36-inch clay pipe, which the majority of our piping in the storm sewer system is reinforced concrete pipe. But that clay pipe had a linear crack right down the top of it, and it was starting to collapse. That's why we replaced the section we did. I haven't seen the results yet, but we just cameraed the rest of that, or another portion of that same storm sewer, and if it's got the same linear crack and showing collapse, that'll be another project that's coming in the hopper. You don't replace 36-inch storm sewer cheaply. That's an expensive undertaking. Even our small PCC patching project that we just did, there was storm sewer work involved in that. Matter of fact, the reason that corner north of the middle school fell apart is because the storm sewer failed, caused the voids, and that's why that fell in. So lots of what I would call one-off intersection work here and there around the center part of town, along with the bigger work when we replace streets.
Okay.
Answer your question?
Well, it gives me feedback on where the dollars are going to be going in the next while. So with this proposal, we're estimating about $100,000 worth of income off of this annually. So even if we had it for 3 years, we would have need for those funds immediately based upon the projects you just listed.
Yeah, not to mention we spend $40,000 or $50,000 a year just in general maintenance on cleaning ditches, cleaning out
Right.
certain intakes, and if we ever get to the point that we have a fund that has a balance that can support some stuff, there's plenty more projects out there to do. But as a staff right now, we're more worried about maintaining what we currently have
Right.
than we are extending new or utilizing these funds to extend.
Well, I appreciate you going through the exercise with me.
Yep.
The reason I want to point this out to the council today is that it's been said in the public that this is a money grab. And I think that alone, right there, pretty well tells you that we're far from a money grab with what we're looking at putting a vote towards today. We've got real issues that we've identified that's going to cost us money. We went through a budgeting process that was tight. We didn't have any extra funds. We all know that. We sat through it. And so if we don't do something about it to get ahead of it, like Brad's talking about, then there is going to be. There is no doubt that we're going to have to tighten the belt somewhere along the line. So I think it's more prudent to go ahead with this and have the money not have to get into an interest issue with a bond or anything else in the future, and move ahead with it. So I'm in favor of it at this point. So.
All right. Any other comments?
And I asked Todd earlier last week about the non-metered customers, if we would be able to legally to charge them, and also collecting from that, because I want it to be fair for everybody that owns a building in town, not if you have water or if you don't have water, because some of these places that don't have water have a lot bigger roof spans than some of the residents do. So I want to make sure that, and Todd confirmed that we were able to charge and collect from that.
So for clarification, it's in the definitions. It defines what a connection means and what a user is. And that encompasses all buildings or in town. And then the collection part gets a little sticky, but it does with all parts of it.
Yeah, no matter how you
Legally, we have a
collect.
right to, so
Yeah.
yes. I just want to take this opportunity. I've been talking with Angie about implementation, because if you choose to approve this, implementation is going to be a pretty good undertaking by the office staff. And it will take us some time to get it implemented, and probably a little bit more time, Brad, to get the non-metered accounts, because those will be brand-new accounts we'll have to set up. So it is possible that we might not be able to enact both metered and non-metered in the same month.
Sure.
But
That's-
they'll come.
Yeah.
They'll all get their bill
Yeah.
sooner, assuming you adopt it.
You said something about 3 years. I mean, is that what you're planning, a 3-year, or is this going to be a continual, ongoing? What do you mean by the 3 years?
I didn't say 3 years. I think Tom mentioned out that we have
Okay.
projects for 3 years in front of us. Ken, I don't see the fee, if you decide to adopt it, I don't see it ever going away. The
No.
need's not going away. If anything, the need's growing. Every time we put in a new residential development, we add more storm water facilities. Every time we put in a new commercial development, we add more storm water facilities. We're not getting less infrastructure to maintain, we're getting more.
And every parking lot that you put in is a huge,
Absolutely.
And I've never seen a
Runoff.
tax go away, and that's basically what this is. No matter what we call it, it's still a tax. And I've never seen one go away, period.
Call it whatever you want.
yep.
Yeah,
I would never say it's going away, Ken.
okay.
Not in my mind, anyway.
All right. I appreciate all
In
of the
the-
comments.
Can I
Go
say,
ahead.
in the overall cost, this is what, 300,000? Is that what you said in 3 years?
It should produce about 100,000 a year.
Yeah, so in total cost, what percentage is that 300,000? Give or take, I'm not asking exactly.
Not sure I understand your question.
Just depends on the project.
The cost of what you need to do,
Oh, well, Ken, that's going to vary from year to year, from time to time. I've said many times in these meetings that we are currently spending $40,000 to $50,000 a year on general maintenance. We would like to ramp that amount up. Just when we did the few hundred feet of that 36-inch storm sewer I talked about, that job alone was $150,000. If we add another 4 blocks of that, you could be looking at $700,000 for that individual job.
Just for that project.
Just for that one
Right.
project. So, like all of our infrastructure budgets, or infrastructure needs, it's gonna vary from year to year. Something that we have talked about internally that I think will maybe help you as a mayor council in the future is we've never had a stormwater fund before, and therefore stormwater has never been listed as a separate entity on our capital improvements plan. Whether you approve this or not, maybe it's time we just list stormwater repairs as a separate line item in our 5-year CIP so that there's more visibility of those projects instead of just as staff knowing. That would be something we could develop fairly easy.
I see this fund as a small project fund and an emergency fund. So if you have a storm drain that goes down with flooding or whatever, we've got funds to pay for that. We don't have to find out where we're gonna get that money from. It's just like other departments have built reserve funds for those incidents when something breaks and you gotta fix it.
That's a good point, Brad, and I think it's important that everybody understands that. This fund, as proposed, will never generate enough dollars to support all of these stormwater expenditures that the city of Sheldon has in a year's time.
Not even close.
Only assist. We spend look at our project schedule, we spend well over $100,000 a year
Right, yeah.
stormwater improvement.
That's what I wanted to know, what it's due in percentage-wise.
If I said a number, I'd just be guessing.
It's gonna help on the project, like you said, over by First Christian Reformed Church.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That'd be a perfect scenario where this fund would be able to
Yeah.
cover the cost of that project.
And a year before that, we did the block north of that.
Yeah.
If you've
But
ever
again,
driven.
yeah, that's like just a portion. Like,
Yes.
There's, it's, yeah.
Well, it never ends. Expenses for a city never end. I'll agree with that.
Right. And the expense of the materials needed doesn't go down either, so that doesn't help anything.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. I'm going to call for the question. Roll call.
What? See, I didn't hear one.
Not a motion.
No, sorry, I was wrong.
All right, then we need a motion to approve the third reading, correct?
So moved.
Support.
All right, roll call, please.
Hess,
Aye.
Snyder,
All due respect, no.
Hamel,
Aye.
Ostra,
Aye.
Eggers,
Aye.
All right, moving on to item 6A, review of the proposal for the City Park Master Plan. I'm assuming you want to speak to that?
Sure.
All right.
So, Todd and Chantel, feel free to weigh in on this. Attached to the agenda is a proposal from Beck Engineering. This can be adopted at a future meeting by resolution. As you recall, in May, there was discussion on whether we have a broad master plan that includes all of the city parks or one of the city parks, and so it was determined to narrow it down instead of doing all of them, or at one point we also talked about Hills Park and City Park, and the consensus was at the time to look at just City Park as our original park. And then this is also consistent with, I also have this linked under city manager report of the strategic planning goals. There's a goal on there for a park master plan. It was number 29. So that was one of the top, that was a tier 1 outcome. So I'll stand for questions. Decided to put it on today's agenda just to have the initial discussion, and that way you didn't feel pressure to make a decision today.
And this is the Central Park on 6th Street, correct?
Yep, the original city park.
Okay.
Yep.
Also, is there going to be any period where, I do not see it in here, I see they'll have a meeting with city staff. Will there be any public input into this plan?
I'm sure there would be.
No, as proposed, Sam.
Yeah.
When it
As
comes,
as
when it
proposed,
comes
there's not
forward,
public meetings.
it wouldn't be the green and blue dots, but it would be, once it comes forward, there would be an opportunity for people to weigh in, but.
One park and rec meeting, one city council meeting.
Yeah.
That's what's in the proposal.
That's what I read.
And Brad, that in some ways, that's intentional in my conversations with Mike Cedar. Because you're so early in the process of what it
Sure.
could be, if you get so many people involved,
And so many
we'll
ideas.
just go in circles. So
Okay.
that's the fear.
Sure.
So that was the reasoning for keeping it, for this level of study anyway, a proposal to the park board and then the city council.
Okay.
If you guys want something different, that's fine, but then we will need a different cost estimate, because this one does not include that.
So am I hearing that correctly? If this is just the first phase and then it goes into further study? Or do they come out with a set of plans that it's
No.
a yay or nay deal?
Depends upon what you want out of this. So it's a strategic planning, at least the way I heard it. We were directed to take a closer look at our parks, and we know we have to start somewhere, and it was existing parks, not new parks. It's too much to try to take on all of them at one time. So with conversation with Chantel and Sam, we decided to start with City Park. They will take a look at our infrastructure, take a look at our buildings, take a look at our play structures, talk to us about like any phases of the park of what they think it could be, and they'll report back. And their report back will have some rough estimated costs of what they think it could be in different phases within the park. Then at that point, we'll have to decide if we want to move forward with any of their ideas or modify any of their ideas and actually go to design. So there'll be time for input at that point. We told them to look at accessibility, right? Handicap accessibility of the park and our buildings. Told them to look at the existing structures. We've got a couple of older buildings that sit in City Park that really don't get utilized much. Should they stay? Should they be rehabilitated? Should something different go there? Playground Paradise was built in 1993, and it was a beautiful structure in its heyday, and some believe it's still a beautiful structure. Do we have accessibility issues with that structure? That's what this will show. And so it'll look at the park in different sectors and then give the rough ideas. We're doing this because that's what we felt like the strategic planning told us to do. If that's not what you want us to do, then
Any other questions?
Just want to state that within our strategic planning outcomes, there's 2 tiers, and that this direction is in part of the first tier, and it states that we would evaluate the condition of the park system and park playground equipment, park maintenance levels, and create an improvement plan. So I think based upon that, what I see in front of me in regards to the proposal from BEI is that's what they're doing, so. Unless we don't feel that BEI is the right entity to do it, I think this is what we decided in our vision, so.
that's maybe a good point, Tom, I guess, just so everybody understands. BEI has different divisions. The gentleman that we're talking to about this, Mike Cedar, is actually a landscape architect, and he's out of the Cherokee office, and Parks and Playgrounds is his wheelhouse. Chantel sat in on a meeting. You were there with me.
June,
Yeah. Yeah. So there's certainly others we can look at. This is the one we reached out to start.
assuming you guys covered that, so thank you. No other comments from me.
Anyone else? You know, you brought up the point there, Tom, of evaluating the parks system, and I'm asking the question, I don't know where I stand on it yet, but is this too focused on, and I know you made the comment, it's too big to look at everything, new versus old versus, are we too focused in on one project at this point as opposed to a bird's eye view? How do we know that City Park is the one to take on first versus a new park out in the Crossroads plan area, or the Crossroads area? We have the master park plan out there and stuff. I mean, what determines the City Park?
You guys did.
Okay.
You, in your strategic planning, you specifically said
Yeah.
you did not want us to look at adding new parks, you wanted us to look at existing parks already in use. You can change your mind, but that's what you said in December.
Well, okay, so it's the parks system, though. It's not the existing parks then. I mean,
Yeah, so then from there, it was a conversation with Sam and Chantel, and we had, I don't need to speak for Chantel, but we just had a discussion on where do we start. We thought trying to evaluate all of them at one shot was going to end up with this large grandiose plan that had all kinds of dollars in it that we knew we weren't going to be able to afford. City Park was our oldest park, one of the more used parks. We decided to start there. The council as a whole obviously would like us to look at a different park instead. We certainly can bring back a different proposal.
Well, and I think I've had some comments from people about, for instance, the, can't remember what the wooden...
Playground Paradise.
Thank you. The status of that, and in their opinion, it needs help. And so I think that that's a logical place to start. It doesn't necessarily, in my mind, negate everything else. If the parks and the pavilion and the people that are meeting on that decide that there's some places where they might put something that's in that existing plan on a moderate basis, I don't know that that would negate that. I know that they have some things in a warehouse somewhere that they would like to place, and I don't see that this necessarily negates that, but I think it's a logical place to start because that Playground Paradise thing needs some help, or needs to be replaced, or whatever, but it certainly needs to be looked at. So I think this makes sense.
okay.
And to address a couple things, Mayor, you mentioned the pavilion area, and that actually was one thing that we discussed during planning, and we decided to table that one for now to focus on our existing parks. And also the discussion on why City Park was exactly what Pete was saying. There's been a lot of public comment on the City Park, and that the structures just really need some upgrading. And so that was, in our conversation, kind of the direction we went, just because we've heard a lot from the community about the City Park. And so that was really the reason we decided to start with that.
I think bite off the smaller parks by time, because a number of years ago, we did a master plan with Mike Bell, and we've only used bits and chunks of it. The rest of it is on a bookshelf. And I think this would focus on one park, get it revitalized, then move on to the next park. Because we're not going to be able to afford to do multi-parks all in the same time.
Right.
You're referencing the Crossroads area, right? With
That was general, all the city parks back then.
the one, yeah, but the one that you said that the architect was involved with, that was out there, right?
No, that was a master plan of all city parks.
Of all the city parks, okay.
Yes.
I didn't realize he was involved with that too. I know he did some work during the pavilion.
Yeah, because I remember one thing out of that, he told us we had too many trees in the city park.
No longer.
No longer.
Yeah, he did. He said we had a bad habit of just plopping
Plopping
things
trees
down.
wherever we wanted trees, we put a tree.
This is systematically planning out.
Oh, be darned. Good.
All right, I'm satisfied.
Something I remember.
So, we have the review, you need a motion, do you want to move forward with this, or?
Well, it would,
Just
I'll
to
have to draft a
discuss it,
resolution. It's just a consensus. It'll be on the next agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
very good. Then if there are no more comments regarding that, we will move into the report section. We have Chief Monica here today with us, giving an update on the police department.
Okay, I wanted to share a little bit about the police department and what's been going on. One of the really common ways for people to talk about the police department is by citations and arrests. And that's something that's always kind of frustrated me with law enforcement because we do an awful lot more than write citations and arrest people. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to kind of quantify this. So I was looking through all of our stuff and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So for some backstory, I kind of have to explain to you how these numbers come about, and then I can explain the numbers. We use dispatch with the O'Brien County Sheriff's Office. So when someone calls in to report something, the dispatcher makes a call for service, and the dispatcher decides, based on what they're being told, what type of call this is going to be. Then they dispatch it to us, then it comes electronically on our computers in our car, and that tells us, where you're going, who you're going to talk to, and what the call type is. Aside from going through every single call of every day, it's hard to figure out exactly what every call type was because it's very common that something starts off as a fireworks complaint, and next thing you know, you're arresting someone for something completely different, or like Brad's been there when you go to a house fire, and next thing you know, you're arresting someone for something else. So for simplicity's sake, I started at what the call is dispatched to us at. That's what we're responding to. So to go back against what I just said, the first thing I'm going to talk about is arrests. From January 1st to as of about noon today, we had 118 arrests. That's for arrests that we charge someone with a crime. So there's also arrests above and beyond that for arrest warrants and mitimisses when someone needs to serve time or something like that. Those aren't counted in these statistics. But the arrests, some of the bigger ones, we had 9 arrests for aggravated assault, 4 for thefts from buildings like burglaries, 25 for drug or narcotics violations, 14 OWIs, 12 for liquor law violations, and then 23 in like the all other offenses. So a lot of times that's going to be some sort of driving offense other than OWI and stuff like that. The call types that we go to, we went to a total of 1,092 calls since January 1st as of about noon. The calls are sorted by call type, so I picked out some of the ones that we deal with more often and just read which ones we go to. Police alarms, so that's like burglary alarms and stuff like that. We went to 9. We went to 17 assault calls. We assisted on 69 ambulance calls. Attempt to locates, which would be like if someone's trying to find a lost motorist, or if some person is missing or whatever. We'll attempt to locate the person. That we went to 19 of those. 68 dog calls, 14 domestics, 48 911 hang-up calls, 24 harassments, 19 mental calls for service. So those are kind of split up between someone that's potentially suicidal but not acting on it would be a mental call. Also people that are seeing things that aren't there, hearing things that aren't there would fall into that category. 10 missing persons, 46 vehicle accidents, 3 sex offenses, 59 suspicious calls. So that'd be like prowler type calls and stuff like that. 50 thefts, 135 traffic calls. So that would include if people see something in the roadway, if we call out that we're assisting a motorist with like a flat tire, if someone calls in that there's an erratic driving complaint and stuff, those would all be in that 135. And then welfare checks or suicide attempts, we went to 37. So that's some of the more common calls that we've been going to this year. I brought up that I like to point out that there's a lot more that we do than the arrests. So that's something that it's just so easy to say how many arrests there are, but the police department is kind of the after-hours government in a lot of cases. So the fire department deals with the same thing. It's like the after hours, if no one knows what to do, they call the fire department or the police department. So I like to just share some of those other statistics about what else is going on. But that's the main things for calls for service and everything. We have full staff right now, so I appreciate everyone for helping us get back to that point. And I stand for any questions.
No, I mean, I deal with officers quite a bit on the fire side of it, and they're doing an excellent job.
I appreciate that.
Very, very good, willing to help us out when we need help with different things. And, we're not investigators. They know how to answer the questions for us, and they get us that information. So they're doing a good job.
Thank you.
So, Eric, when you went through the process of interviewing for the position of chief, you talked about one of the visions you had for the department was in the public relations side, to where your officers would be more visible to the citizens outside of emergency calls and stuff of that nature. How are you seeing that progressing?
It seems like it's going well. There's so many of these things that are so hard to quantify.
Right.
So I've heard a lot of positive comments from the public, but you always hear negative comments too, in public administration. So,
Right.
I think we're working on it and we're headed in a positive direction.
I know that I've been hearing positive comments about, you guys' involvement with funerals, you guys' involvement at Rice Fest, that type of thing, and those were areas that sometimes in the past, we didn't hear those types of comments. So I can tell you, at least from my seat, that I think things are going in the direction that you had envisioned.
It's been going very well.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up, because I do believe that's an important part of not only, police department, fire department, all of our emergency services, is to be able to communicate well with the community. So, thank you.
Well, yes,
I
and
would like
the
to-
Shop with the Cop program's coming up here. At some point, that's another very positive flow, and certainly encourage people to get involved in that and contribute to its success.
Another thing that's come up recently that I can't share a ton of details with yet because it's not all public yet. However, we've partnered with the Sheriff's Office, and some of our officers are members of the Iowa Great Lakes Drug Task Force. Between Sheldon PD, the O'Brien County Sheriff's Office, and the Great Lakes Drug Task Force, we have made some incredible leaps and bounds in investigations and arrests lately. We've gotten a lot of meth off the streets in the last couple weeks, and some significant search warrants, and it's been going very, very well, and that my guys are very proud of how that's going right now. So if you watch the news, you'll see more about that.
I don't know what's going on. I've been involved with so many funerals here lately, but the directors, to add to Tom's point, they really appreciate the help, and it's made things a lot easier. And I've talked to a couple of the officers too, and their attitude toward it is proper. Yeah, and so we appreciate that.
It's something so simple. But
Yeah.
it's going well.
I think it was in the review Saturday, there was an article about canine officers or dogs in the area, not just Sheldon, but it was a very interesting article. If you get a chance to read it, It's very, just enlightening as to all the stuff that dogs can do, especially Bellum. Seeing just what you've learned over the years, can you picture a department without a canine at this point?
I can picture it because I started here when we didn't have one, but I wouldn't like it. It's an invaluable tool. I don't know why it's not a small expense. Everything in everything in the city is a big expense, but yeah, it's so helpful. There's just nothing else that can do what they can do.
So, very good. Appreciate that, your work with that as well. Any other comments or questions
I have
for?
one quick comment if I can.
Yep.
I'd like to make a comment regarding code enforcement. So Todd and Steve and I really appreciate your help with code enforcement. There's so many times where it's gray, whether it's a code violation or a police matter, and it's been very helpful the times that, and there's numerous times where you've stepped in informally and you've made a call or a stop, and that saved us a lot of effort, and that's also saved us a lot of time and expense with Micah and the city attorney's office to draft official notices. So I want to say thank you. I think you truly understand the broken window theory, that if you start getting properties that are run down, then you have crime that goes along with it, and so we appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one question. A couple weeks ago, they talked about electric scooters and bikes. I was asked if electric scooters or bikes can be on the bike trails, because there's a sign that says no motorized vehicles.
We discussed that in the trails. It's still in discussion.
Good question.
So, I mean, not to put you on the spot, but I had somebody brought it up after the council meeting. They talked about scooters, and then a couple weeks later, they talked to me, and I went out, and I'm out on the east side of town, and I go by, and there's this big sign that says no motorized vehicles.
Right.
So-
It says motor. It doesn't say engine. So
Yeah. So,
that's a good question.
it was brought up, and I'll ask. So-
Even on the roadway, electric
Oh.
vehicles are a pain.
Yeah.
There's wattage requirements and, what's legal, what's not legal, what you have to make it legal. It's, even for a police officer, it's confusing to know what the rules are for that.
And even bicycles are supposed to abide by the rules of the road. And I don't know how many times I almost hit somebody because they go through stop signs. So just a reminder, if you're a bicycle rider, you still have to obey the laws of the road.
And most trail systems that I've been on, so far allow electric. I don't want to call them vehicles, but electric bikes and scooters and things, with the exception that most of them declare a speed limit.
And that's what they're doing in the Trails Committee.
And
They're working on that, too.
I know up at the lakes, the speed limit is 20 miles an hour. Because some electric bikes, there's a top category that will go faster than that. And then that becomes iffy.
There's that trail that goes from Lake Park all the way to Spirit Lake. And
Right.
we rode that recently, and almost every bike we met was electric.
Yeah. So everybody's struggling with that decision, but most of them have a limit that, and some even declare that you can't, I can't remember what categories they are right now, but that top category that will do like 27 miles an hour without even just pushing a button with your thumb, most of those are not allowed on trails. The lesser categories are usually, and RAGBRAI allows them. So everybody's struggling with that whole thing.
Are the scooters allowed on sidewalks or not? What is the law on that?
I believe they're allowed on sidewalks.
What?
I believe they are allowed on sidewalks.
Okay. I was asked that once, I had no idea, okay.
So, all right, thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Let's move on then to the reports. Anything further from you, Sam? in your
Yes,
report?
city manager's report, I'll just kind of skip over unless anybody has any questions on that, and I'll jump right into strategic planning review. Is that okay? Any questions on my regular report? All right. you want to click on that, I'll just briefly run through it. Number 2, not much on this, aside from that's the reviewing the aesthetics of the west, east, and basically the gateway corridors and preparing an improvement plan. Not much movement on this, aside from the DOT project, which was a pre-planned improvement project that we piggybacked off of for some excellent other improvements, also Western Avenue improvements, and then some west side property acquisition and tear down, which is underway. There are many nuisance enforcements underway as well. I believe that we've sent north of 150, at least, 150 different properties. So there's some cases we're sending a letter to the renter and to the owner. So there's quite a few letters that have gone out, and we're doing fairly well. We have the next one is, feel free to interrupt, the next one is conducting an analysis of emergency services, coverage areas, operational funding, etc. Hasn't been much movement on that. Wouldn't mind having some direction on that. We don't have to do that today, but at a future meeting or review, we should have that conversation. Next one is number 29 on parks. We've talked about that earlier in the meeting. Next one is analyzing daycare service options and expansion opportunities. And I think Tanya was going to touch on that when we do the department reports here in just a moment, but we've had some good success there. Second tier outcomes are, for the most part, they're all SCDC items with cooperation from the city, so those can be addressed by Tanya as well. Any questions?
All right, thanks, Sam. Todd, anything from you?
Yeah, sorry, Mayor, I have a few things. So I just thought I should give you all a quick update on some of where our projects are at. So the PCC patching project north of the middle school on 23rd Avenue, that is done, the road's open, so what is left, final grading and seeding, they should be buttoning that up here in the next week or so. So the water tower, working on the sandblasting and priming right now. That has been going extremely slow. Not because the contractor doesn't want to work, but because wind and humidity and those types of things have not allowed them to work. There's some pretty tight parameters on when they can blast that metal to steel and get it recoated in a in the right amount of time before you start to get some flash rusting. So there's been a lot of days where they haven't worked, or they've only been able to work a couple, 3 hours in the morning, and then they're shut down for the day. So the last few days have been better. And if you look at it, they're starting to make some decent progress. I did have somebody ask me yesterday if that grayish green color is going to be the color of the new tower. No, it is not. It'll look very similar to the other one. So Western Avenue. Western Avenue is chugging along. It's also received multiple delays, and I'm not going to go into the details on all the delays in today's, but they're finally making some good progress. They're just about done with all the underground work in the first phase. Phase B, which is the center phase, they intend on closing next week and starting pavement removals next week in the middle phase. And at the same time, they'll be paving the southern phase. At the same time, they're tearing out and working in the middle phase. So notices went out to all the middle Phase B property owners yesterday, I believe it was, to let them know that the road will be closed sometime next week.
How far will that go up to?
That will go up to just south of West 10th Avenue. Or, excuse me, West 10th Street. Yep.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, yeah. Less people affected, but some of them are affected more, right? It's a little harder to get to their, going to be a little harder to get to their addresses. Trees, we're just about done with the last round of trees, and by just about done, they're all removed, but there's still some stump holes that need to be filled, and a few stumps are coming back to grind a second time because they didn't get them out good enough. Lyle and I are monitoring the tree canopy. We have another list set to go, but before we release that list for removal, we want to see how the tree canopy handles this summer, and then we may adjust, add, or remove some trees depending upon how their health is looking. But B, anticipate another list to go out sometime this fall. And then FEMA, yes, we are still dealing with FEMA and Iowa Homeland Security from the flooding of over a year ago. We are making progress, though. We've received a little over $200,000 to date. We're anticipating another 200 or 250,000 to come in through that. The only project, there's two, well, I should rephrase that. So there's two projects that are currently not obligated. The one is the water line replacement by Highway 18. That's close, that's in final review. And then the last one that's not obligated would be Cat Z, which is our management costs to put the grant together, and that's obviously not done yet because we're not done filling out paperwork. So anyways, I think the last utility one will be obligated here within the next couple of weeks, and then we'll keep plugging away. We will not, we tried our darndest, we will not be receiving mitigation funds for the North Fifth Avenue lift station. That's a project that we spoke to you about at budget time. So staff is currently evaluating every option we can before we bring a project back to you guys to consider. There's internal debates on, what level of protection do we need. So we'll probably be bringing you a couple different options to consider, and let the mayor council break the ties on some of that. So, lastly, as we started a new fiscal year yesterday, the guys are in the process of getting some things ordered and getting products coming. With that, there's a couple of vehicles that we will be liquidating. We're buying one vehicle to replace two. And so Micah always tells me before I liquidate a vehicle that I at least need head nods around the table. So with your blessing, as soon as our new vehicle, or it'll be new to us, it won't be brand new, vehicle comes in, we'll be liquidating a 2009 Chevy C4500 and a 1999 E450. Neither one has much value, in case you were curious.
Those are dump trucks?
So one is an old ambulance with a dump bed on it. That's the E450. That's the one we primarily use for cleaning catch basins out, and also we use at the cemetery to haul dirt away and leave a load on when we fill a grave, along various other things. The other one is a flatbed truck. It's kind of our work bed truck for concrete work and pulling the skid loader and whatnot. But now that we have a 3/4 ton pickup, we really don't need that anymore. So the new dump box that we buy, we'd like to buy with then flip down sides so that we can double it as a flatbed, so that we only have to own and maintain one heavy duty truck in lieu of two. And both of those trucks have some mechanical issues, and that's another reason why it's time for them to go out. So if I don't hear any no's, then those will be gone once we get something else. All I have, unless there's a question.
Looks like you're free to dispose of them. All right, before we go on, did you want to address the emergency planning session?
Oh, I do. September 10, Brad, I think one of those dates did not work for you.
Yeah, I think the 24th, we have the household hazardous trailer that night. I believe this is 24th.
That's the 23rd, that's a Tuesday, right?
Okay, I got the wrong date then.
I think we set that up for a Tuesday, but I could be wrong.
Okay, I have it on the wrong date then. I should be able to make that one work.
Anyway, check your calendars, and I've heard from some of you, so get back to me in the next couple of days and we'll get it set up.
Okay, that's all you have on that?
Yep.
All right, Tanya, anything from you today?
Yes, just to touch a little bit on the child care services that Sam mentioned. We have had some good success and progress in communicating the program that was put out for this fiscal year, which was the pilot program in support of Children's World. The letter that was previously presented was finalized and prepared to be sent out. And we have had some personal meetings as well with employers, and those have been very enlightening just to know and learn what some of the employers are doing behind the scenes to already support childcare for their employees, and then just to learn about how we can potentially work together in the future as we talk about continuation of this pilot program. We will continue that communication, especially as feedback and information is reported by Children's World, so that we can demonstrate that impact, and then hopefully when and if that program is successful, we can have some continuation with support of the employers involved. But we'll continue looking for opportunities as well to continue supporting child care services in our community.
All right, any questions for Tanya? All right, we will move on. Eric, did you have anything else?
We just wanted to remind everyone to be careful and respectful with fireworks, and people's grass belongs in the grass dump, and trees belong in the tree dump, and their personal garbage belongs in their personal garbage cans. And shouldn't take that much to tell people that, but it seems to.
All right, thank you for those reminders. Angie, anything from you today?
No, thank you.
Council to my left. No. To my right?
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question for Todd in regards to the trees. What percentage where are we at on the total project? Are we 75% done, 50, 25%?
75 or more.
Okay. So within maybe the next year, we'll be finishing that up? Year or two? Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I have a thank you here I'd like to read, and it kind of it summarizes the comments I've been getting from different city employees, but I'll read it and then you'll know what I'm talking about. Dear Mayor, I wanted to thank you and the council for everything you do. The raises this year were unexpected and much appreciated. Not only do I appreciate it as an employee, but as chief, and this is Chief Monarchy. This is a great tool for employee recruitment and retention. So we appreciate those comments, Eric, and I'm sure others are getting comments too from employees that they are appreciative of the raises. So you did a good thing there. And that's all I have, so with that, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Snyder?
Aye.
Hamel?
Aye.
Eggers?
Aye.
And?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.